This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.
Grab your bookmarks and pack your imagination. This is Parishay's Book Club on OAR FM Youth Zone, where stories come alive. We're diving in 3, 2, 1. Kia ora and welcome back to Parishay's Book Club, the best corner of your radio where stories bounce off the page and take you on a magical ride. Today, we are diving into the brilliant fantasy, A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Guin. This story is about a young wizard who makes a terrible mistake and his dangerous quest to fix it. And to help me unpack all this magic, I have one energetic guest in the studio. He helps make big decisions for our beautiful city because he is a councillor for Dunedin, Mickey Treadwell. It is great to have you in the studio, Mickey. How's your day going so far?
Kia ora, Parishay. It has been a good day. Yes, it was a rare work from home day for me. So I've been keeping out of the rain and keeping busy otherwise. It's been good.
Yeah. Mickey, you are a local councillor and deputy lead of the Environment and Youth Portfolio. You have a diverse background in natural history, film, teaching, computer science, and game design, while advocating environmental protection, housing solutions, and youth engagement. I must say, what an impressive bio you have. For our listeners, could you share what a normal day looks like for a Dunedin councillor?
Thank you. That's so kind. Although I can't say I had a radio show at your age. That's very impressive. A normal day for a councillor, well, it's quite a varied job. But the one thing that is almost always true is there's a lot of reading, which feels topical for today's show.
Yeah.
So typically you either have a big council meeting coming up in a couple of days or a number of other committee meetings that you might be on. So for example, I'm also on the Otaru Dunedin Sister City Society committee and also a committee for the Dunedin Ice Stadium. So as a councillor, you're involved with lots of groups which you have a role on as a decision maker, and you spend a lot of your time reading up the agendas for upcoming meetings and meeting with people and researching to make sure that you're fully informed to make good decisions to move Dunedin forward.
That sounds like a lot of hard work, almost as tricky as wizard school. Mickey, I always ask my guests one of my favorite questions. Do you have a cozy special spot where you just love to disappear into a good book?
That's a great question. So I'm always somebody who's had a bit of trouble sleeping. So every night I read before bed, and that's often what helps me get to sleep. So in a way, books kind of are my cozy spot.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick somewhere, places that I've loved my whole life are the window seats in the Dunedin Public Library. There are wonderful ones on the ground floor. You're familiar?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be my top reading spot.
That sounds perfect. When you were my age, were you completely obsessed with fantasy books and dragons, or did you prefer reading about real-life things?
I think I certainly had an early introduction to fantasy. So I think when I was your age, I read a lot of myths and legends, particularly the kind of Greek classics. I was really big on griffins and like Bellerophon and the Chimera, all of those, classics. Yeah. And that really, I sort of segued from that into fantasy. So like The Northern Lights by Philip Pullman was very big for me. Or The Half Men of O by Morris G, who's
my teachers read that to me.
Oh,
like
fabulous.
The class, yeah.
Yeah. I think Morris G is one of my favorite authors. And he does a really good range of, that kind of very fantastical fantasy, but also more kind of traditional literature. And I think there's something interesting there. The author of A Wizard of Earthsea, actually, she says all fiction is fantasy, is her stance on it, because it's all about other worlds, just some are more different to our own than others.
Yeah, That sounds perfect. It is time to do the book in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey, since you brought this amazing book to the studio today, can you give us a quick elevator pitch? Tell us about Jed and the massive mistake he makes while studying magic.
Yes, indeed. Okay, elevator pitch. I should have prepared better for this one.
Yeah.
So, A Wizard of Earthsea is a relatively early fantasy novel It's the first novel which has a fantasy school in it, which is something I was always really interested in. It's about, I think an important thing is that the author is the daughter of an anthropologist. So all of the different peoples and societies in the book are quite nuanced, and there's nobody in the book that's really a good guy or a bad guy as such. It's very nuanced. So the way that the book has these big conflicts between, I guess, good and bad are never entirely straightforward. It's a fantasy epic, but it's all about balance, and that's a wonderful thing about The Wizard of Earthsea.
In Earthsea, you can only control something if you know its exact secret name. How does this make these wizards different from the ones we usually see in movies?
Yes, it is a bit different in that nobody's firing lightning bolts and fireballs around. Magic in the book is all about power over other creatures, or power over the world, or power over other people, and that's expressed through language, which is sort of speaks to a lot of things. It's sort of a metaphor for politics or a metaphor for our relationships with each other. It's a bit more subtle, but it's also still very dramatic and often very fun.
Without giving away the grand ending, what makes this book such an epic read? And who should run to the library right now to get it?
I think what makes it such an epic read is, again, going back to how the world is really well realized and all the peoples in it are very well considered. It just feels like a world you can get lost in because it's quite relatable. I think anybody who's into adventure, anybody who's into kind of coming of age, anybody who likes sailing, and anybody who likes fantasy of any age should go and read this book. It's got something for everyone.
That sounds nice. Now that we know this book, let us jump into a deep dive. Mickey, at the start of the story, Jed loves showing off. And that is how he accidentally lets out a scary shadow monster. What do you think this teaches kids about why showing off is a bad idea and why we need to admit it when we make a mistake?
So early on, there's this conflict that Jed has where he wants to show off. He's very prideful.
Yeah.
And I think the book, again, is about balance and about having a conversation with other people.
I agree.
Yeah, right? Like that's an important thing kind of in all aspects of life. But the reason that Jed wants to be prideful and show off is because he is insecure. You know, he doesn't believe that he is this kind of powerful or worthy person. So he has to show off to try and prove it to other people because he doesn't believe it himself. And I think that's an enduring lesson from that book, is that often you're projecting things that you believe onto other people.
That is such a good point. In Earthsea, there is a very big rule. Every single magic spell changes the balance of nature. Do you think the author is trying to tell us that we need to take care of our own environment in real life?
I think so, yeah. I think that's a big part of what she's getting at. There's a lot of talk early in the book about, and there's this island of Gaunt where Guin is from, and lots of wizards are trained there and grow up there. And a lot of them are weather wizards or weathermongers. And so it's not uncommon to see a storm cloud might come shuffling towards a village, and then they'll see it bounce back the other way and then ping-pong around as all these other different wizards are trying to shuffle it around.
Yeah.
But the point is it doesn't go away. So the balance is important, but the storm cloud remains. It's always going to be there.
Yeah, here in New Zealand, it's also kind of like that these days.
Oh, totally,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, Sunday I was actually up at the Opaho playground.
Yeah.
And we got there and it was a beautiful sunny day. I took some really nice photos.
Yeah.
And in about 90 minutes, it was just this front came through and it was raining and we all had to run off. And we're going, we didn't see this coming at all.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some weathermongers around here, perhaps.
Yeah. Let's chat about dragons for a second. Mm-hmm. The dragons here are not just giant fire breathers. They are ancient and super smart. If you ever had to sit down and negotiate with a dragon, would your counselor skills come in handy?
I think so. There is an aspect of negotiation and conflict in the role of a counsellor because you have to do a lot of debating. there's a lot of rules in the council chamber. There are things called points of order and kind of orders that you have to speak, and it's all very rules-based. I think the dragons in Earthsea are a bit like that too, because their magic is all about the command of language. So I do think there could be some advantages there, but I would want to know what was on the agenda before I went and talked to the dragon.
Yeah. Towards the end, Jed learns he can't just run from the shadow monster. He has to be brave and face it. Why is it so much better for us to face our fears instead of running away?
Yeah, I think fear and anxiety particularly are the outcome of not addressing something. So often when say you have a dental appointment coming up, right? If you're going to like the dentist on Friday and that's a bit scary, or you might love the dentist, I don't know. But
I don't mind the dentist.
You don't mind the dentist?
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Well, a lot of people sort of dread it, right?
Yeah.
But that dread it can ruin hours of your day. You think about it and it puts you in a bad mood. But all that dissipates as soon as you've had the dental appointment, and it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. So fear and anxiety are a result of not addressing something, of waiting to address something. So in the book, things are sort of resolved without spoiling it too much when Gid chooses to confront his shadow. And that's an allegory, I would say, for that kind of fear and anxiety that comes from refusing to confront something, and then it's resolved by confronting it.
I love that advice. Let's move on to my favorite reading part. Mickey, it is time to take the mic. You get to share your favorite passage of this magical adventure with us. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
Awesome. Okay, I lost my page in here, but I wrote it down on my phone. So I've got the book in here, but I'll do it the less fun way. One moment. Okay, so this is a quote from one of the sort of teachers at the wizard school trying to explain to Gid when he's very young and hot-headed the limitations of magic, or why you shouldn't, overuse it, I suppose. To change this rock into a jewel, you must change its true name. And to do that, my son, even to so small a scrap of the world, is to change the world itself. You must not change one thing, one pebble, one grain of sand, until you know what good and evil will follow from that act. The world is in balance and in equilibrium. A wizard's power of changing and of summoning can shake the balance of the world. It is dangerous, that power. It must follow knowledge and serve need. To light a candle is to cast a shadow. And I really like that quote because I think it summarizes the book quite well. To light a candle is to cast a shadow. Everything has that kind of opposite reaction. And it's good to make an act to do something, but you have to do it when you've got all the information available.
Yeah, you have to be prepared before you do that because, you don't know what might happen.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you for reading that. Now let's play a game.
Yes.
Time for some quick fire fun. Today's game is called Wizard's Wild Scenarios. I'm going to describe a magical emergency in Dunedin, and you have to tell me your funniest solution. Ready for this?
So ready.
Scenario number 1. You sneeze while giving a speech at a city council meeting, and you accidentally turn all the boring paperwork into flying, flapping pancakes. How do you catch them all before they stick to the ceiling?
That is such a good question. So I spent a lot of time at the Botanic Gardens in New Zealand, in Dunedin. And have you been there and you can go get free birdseed to feed the ducks?
Yeah.
I think if there was a world where I was likely to have my papers turning into flapping pancakes, I'd carry around a lot of things like that. But pancakes might not go for conventional birdseed. So maybe something sweeter, maybe like a maple syrupy birdseed. Yeah. I think I would carry something around like that, and I'd try and lure the pancakes back down from the ceiling.
Haha, tasty but messy. Number 2. A very lazy dragon decides to use Baldwin Street of our city, the steepest street in the world, as a giant tummy slide. What magical traffic sign do you create to make the dragon stop?
I would say... Okay, so the way that the direction that Baldwin Street faces is, if it's going down, if my geography is right, it would be going away from central Otago. So I would put up a big sign and I would say, no, they're opening a gold mine in the other direction. Dragons typically like to hoard gold. So I think that would be enough to make it turn around.
Perfect. What if your shadow suddenly detaches from you and starts running around the Dunedin Botanic Garden, snatching hats off people's heads? What dance move do you have to make your shadow come back to you?
Oh, dance move. Firstly, I think my response might not be, well, I would want the shadow to come back. I think we could work together and I could get a lot of hats out of this situation, which would be great. I think the worm would be quite a good one because, when you do the worm, you kind of touch the ground and that's when you would be getting closest to your shadow normally. So the worm seems like a good way to reunite with your shadow, perhaps. I don't think I'd be very good at it, but that would be my go-to for sure.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard. I've tried it.
What dance move would you use?
I would probably do some like crazy tangled up move or something like that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Try and entangle it back with you. Yeah.
This is fun. That is fun. Final scenario. You are late for a very important meeting and you desperately need a magical ride. You do not have a dragon, so which animal are you riding into the meeting?
I can't go past the toroa, the northern royal albatross. Biggest bird. It looks very soft. Incredible flyer. They glide. They hardly flap at all, so I think it would be quite a smooth ride. You probably have to magically enlarge it a little bit, or I'd have to magically shrink a little bit. But I think flying on the back of an albatross or a toroa would be the way to go. Also, you'd be arriving in style.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So, Mickey, a couple of questions not related to the book. What advice would you give to the young people to support our beautiful city?
Ooh, great question. There are a lot of really good direct volunteering opportunities in the city. Town Belt Kaitiaki is one of them. That's a group of young people who do trapping and planting and rubbish cleanups.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because today in my class we just learned about Kaitiaki.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh, how good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's something you could check out.
Yeah.
You've got school holidays coming up. Mm-hmm. There's also Keep Dunedin Beautiful as a similar organisation. I think that's all ages, but I'm pretty sure they have opportunities for young people to get involved.
So what would you tell to the people who want to become a councillor?
Ooh. Reading. Basically. It requires a lot of reading. So any kind of reading that you enjoy. You don't have to be reading non-fiction or political or maths or any of these things. Read any book that you like. If you're a fantasy person, if you're into books about horses, if you're into crime fiction, just make sure you've always got a book or two on the go. I think that's probably the best thing that you can do to be prepared for being a councillor or a politician of any kind. Or even just to enhance your inner life. I think it's very important.
Who would enjoy being a councillor? Someone who wants to just sit in office or someone who loves travelling and talking?
Definitely the talking part. The best part of being a councillor for me is that I get to meet a lot of different people around the city and a lot of different groups who are doing wonderful things. So people like Town Belt Kaitiaki or Aroha Kaikorai Valley or Opera. There's lots and lots of wonderful groups around the city who are doing practical, important things for our environment, and they're often doing it just out of the goodness of their heart. Also, groups like the Dunedin Youth Council, which is kind of like the cooler version of the Dunedin City Council, but it's all young people. Definitely people who like to travel and talk, because a lot of what you're doing is hearing from people to find out what they want from the city, explaining to them what the council's role might be in that, and then figuring out ways that you can make the city better, ideally, and helping those groups while you do it.
How can young people support the environment? What things can we do to support our future?
Really good question. So I think there's big picture things and there's little picture things. Big picture things are like the kind of decisions that we make at a council level. So sometimes we make decisions like, okay, certain cafes, like council-run cafes, can't use single-use cups, for example. That's quite a big impact because it takes hundreds and hundreds of bits of rubbish out of the equation. Or we will often support businesses, usually council businesses, to move away from like coal-fired boilers and onto more sustainable types of use. So getting involved in your council or writing letters about these kind of things, that's good, big picture stuff. But also just in your everyday, like making choices to avoid bringing more litter or more pollution in the environment.
Yeah, like, as I said, we were learning about kaitiaki. Mm-hmm. My teacher said that all the dump stuff, like rubbish, not recycling things, they go in the ground.
Yes, yes, indeed, yeah. So, yeah, that's actually a fun fact about the city. A lot of the sports grounds, like out at Kettle Park and maybe also Forrester, they're often built on top of old rubbish dumps. Yeah. Because you don't want to plant food on top of where rubbish is buried, but sports grounds are used for it. But it does mean that stuff is seeping into the earth. So reducing the amount of kind of plastic that goes into the environment is a really good place to be. Also, a sort of a fun thing you can do is if you're going to the beach, or maybe you could plan a trip to the beach, bring along a rubbish bag and see how much rubbish you can pick up on your walk and fill that with. Because it's often like a shocking amount, but it's also a big impact that you can have as beach cleanups.
That is brilliant. Your answers are very insightful and will help our audience help the environment. Now it is time for this week's listener challenge. The True Name Challenge. This week, your challenge is to grab a torch, find a blank wall in your bedroom, and create the absolute weirdest, silliest show. Show your family, give your shadow creature a funny name, and tell them what its magical power is. Before we say goodbye, Mickey, what is the one big lesson about bravery that kids can take away from Jed's journey?
I think that's a really good question, and I think this harkens back to an earlier question about bravery. It's always better to confront the thing you're scared of. You're scared of it or you're anxious about it before you confront it, and once you've done that confrontation, you'll almost always feel better regardless of the outcome.
Yeah. What a wonderful note to end on. That brings us to the end of the show. We had an amazing time talking about A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Guin with Dunedin City Councillor Mickey Treadwell. Thank you so much for coming to the studio today, Mickey. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been the highlight of my day, and it's been such a pleasure. It was great having you. I am Parishay. Thank you for all listening. And until next week, keep reading and watch out for dragons. Ka kite. Ka kite. Thanks for joining our book club. I hope you enjoyed today's pick. You can listen to all our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and oar.org.nz. Parishay's book club airs fortnightly Fridays at 4:30 p.m. on OAR FM 105.4 FM and 1575 AM. I'm Parishay. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, keep turning pages.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.